The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the village. From the sacred rock, a strange, dark presence begins to crawl over the earth. The villagers, gathering around their fires, feel the air thicken with fear. Something is wrong, one villager whispers, glancing nervously at the silhouette forming at the edge of the rock. The wind carries an unfamiliar chill. The shadow seems to pulse, as if alive, creeping closer, casting an eerie gloom. Eyes widen in fear. Old stories are recalled in hushed tones. Whispers swirl through the crowd. The gods are angry, one elder mutters as he looks up at the rock. The sacred rock has not spoken for years. That shadow, it's not natural. It's a curse, a warning, another elder adds, fear lacing his voice. The villagers gather tighter, their voices filled with panic. The shadow grows darker, pressing down on the village like a heavy blanket, suffocating the air. A young warrior standing at the edge of the crowd watches the shadow grow, his face conflicted. Adama clenches his fists, his mind racing. What if this is true? What if the gods are angry, he thinks, shaking his head. His training tells him to act, to protect, but doubt eats at him. What if their ancestors' gods had forgotten them? Stand firm, Adama, he whispers to himself, but fear keeps gnawing at him. At his side, his sister Amara watches with a skeptical frown. This is just superstition, she murmurs, though her voice lacks conviction. The shadow is a trick of the light, nothing more. But it feels real, Adama replies, his gaze fixed on the darkening silhouette. The people are scared. We can't ignore it. Amara shakes her head, her eyes filled with doubt. The old ways are dead, Adama. This shadow, it's not the gods. It's just the village holding on to old fears. A group of elders, led by Chief Olumide, gathers by the fire, their faces somber. It's happening again, Chief Olumide says, his voice low, almost trembling. The curse is returning. We must prepare, an elder adds, fear heavy in his voice. The village is not safe. This shadow is a warning. The air grows thicker with unease. The elder's words fuel the villagers' growing panic, but none dare to question the chief's authority. In a swift meeting, the elders decide Adama must go to the sacred rock. It is your duty, young warrior, Chief Olumide declares. You must uncover the truth behind this shadow. Adama stands tall, his heart heavy. He can feel the weight of tradition pressing on him, but doubt lingers. Still, he bows his head. I will go, he says, voice steady despite his inner turmoil. Amara, though reluctant, steps forward. I'll go with him. This can't be just a legend. Back at their home, the tension between them is palpable. Adama prepares for the journey, packing his weapon and supplies, while Amara paces nearby, eyes distant. Why do you always trust the old ways? She asks, her voice soft but sharp. The gods have forsaken us, Adama. We've built our lives on lies. This shadow is just a sign that we need to move on. Adama stops, looking at his sister with frustration. You don't understand. I don't want to believe it either, but something is happening. The shadow is real, Amara. We can't ignore it. The two stand in silence for a long moment, the weight of their opposing views between them. Finally, Amara sighs, eyes resolute. Then let's find the truth, she says, determination setting in. The siblings set out at dusk, the path ahead uncertain. The shadow stretches ever closer, its presence haunting the village behind them. Their journey is more than just to the sacred rock. It is a journey to uncover the very heart of their fears and beliefs. The night is thick with tension, and the sibling silence speaks louder than words. As they walk into the unknown, the only thing certain is that nothing will be the same when they return. Adama stands still, gazing at the shadow stretching across the village from the sacred rock. His heart weighs heavy, a battle raging inside. him. The ancient traditions of his people have always guided him, shaped him into the warrior he is today. Yet this shadow, this dark omen, feels different, as if it challenges everything he has believed in. He mutters under his breath, "The ancestors protect us. They always have." But the words feel hollow, failing to ease the growing doubt in his chest. His hand grips the hilt of his sword. He is a warrior, sworn to uphold tradition, but the shadow, how can it be explained? Is this a test, or is it something far worse? He cannot ignore the gnawing feeling that something is wrong. At his side, Amara watches with cold eyes. "You still believe in the stories, don't you?" she asks, her voice sharp. "You still think the gods are angry?" Adama turns to her, his brow furrowed. "We've always believed. We've always followed. The old ways. Why would we question them now?" "Because they're lies, Adama," Amara snaps, the frustration bubbling over. "The world has changed, and we're still holding on to the same foolish beliefs. We're trapped in the past, shackled by these lies." Adama's jaw tightens. "You're wrong. The past keeps us strong. Without it, we have nothing." The sacred rock looms in the distance, a towering figure that casts a long shadow over the village. The elders speak of it often, telling the young ones that the spirits dwell there, that the ancestors watch from its high peak. It is both revered and feared. Yet now, the rock's presence seems more ominous than ever. Adama's gaze is fixed on it, drawn to its dark power. His mind races. What does the shadow mean? What does it signify? "The gods have left us," Amara mutters under her breath, her eyes fixed on the rock, the doubt clear in her voice. "We're alone now." As the sun dips below the horizon, the village grows quieter. The air is thick with tension. Around the fire, the elders sit in silence, whispering among themselves. The younger villagers stand apart, murmuring in their own groups. A rift has formed. Those who hold to the old ways and those who see the world shifting, longing for something new. Adama stands with the elders, unsure where he belongs. His eyes wander to the young ones, their faces filled with defiance. They have no respect for the past. They do not understand the weight of tradition, the strength it gives them. "Something must be done," one elder says, his voice low but filled with authority. "The shadow is a sign. The gods are angry. We must restore balance." "But the gods have no power over us anymore," another young voice replies. "We are free. We don't need these chains." Adama clenches his fists. The gods will always have power. The past will always have power. Despite his words, doubt lingers in his mind. The elders' authority is unshaken, but the fear in their eyes betrays them. They are not as certain as they once were. The shadow is real, and no amount of rituals can erase that fact. One elder, her voice trembling with age and fear, begins to speak of an ancient prophecy. The shadow was foretold, a sign of the imbalance that would come when the natural order was disturbed. For years, the village had forgotten the warning, dismissing it as myth. But now, it is undeniable. The prophecy has returned. Adama's heart sinks as he hears the words. "The shadow is a warning," she says, her voice shaking. "It is the first sign of a greater destruction to come. The ancestors have spoken. We must act now." Amara turns to Adama, her face set with determination. "We can't keep waiting. We need to find out the truth, no matter what the elders say." Adama hesitates. The burden of tradition weighs heavily on him, but he cannot ignore the urgency in her voice. "You know what this means," he says quietly. "We must defy the elders. If we go to the sacred rock, we may not return." Amara nods. "Then we go. For once, let us see the truth for ourselves. Their decision is made. Despite their differences, they will face the unknown together. The shadow calls them forward, and they cannot turn back. The path ahead is uncertain, filled with danger and defiance, but it is a path they must walk. For the future of their people and their own beliefs, the truth must be uncovered. The sacred rituals, the ancient warnings, and the shadow all point to one thing: a reckoning is coming. Adama and Amara will face it side by side, knowing that whatever lies ahead will shape not just their future, but the future of their village as well. The journey to the sacred rock begins under a sky heavy with the promise of danger. Adama strides ahead, his thoughts fixed on the task at hand. He is a warrior, bound to tradition, but the shadow still lingers in his mind. The further they walk, the deeper his doubt grows. Beside him, Amara's steps are quick and sure, her eyes scanning the path ahead, always questioning, always uncertain. Her mind is not focused on the shadow, but on what lies beyond it, on the truth that has been hidden from them all these years. "I still don't understand why you trust these old ways," she says, her voice low but sharp. "What if they're wrong?" Adama's pace slows slightly and his jaw tightens. "We must follow the path of the ancestors. They've never steered us wrong." Amara scoffs. "That's what you believe. But what if the ancestors are the ones leading us astray?" He shakes his head, unwilling to entertain such thoughts. The weight of his duty, the knowledge that he is fulfilling a role passed down for generations, keeps him moving forward, despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. We'll know soon enough. The sacred rock doesn't lie. As they reach the edge of the forest, an old figure emerges from the shadows, Baba Kofi, the village elder who has long been a recluse. His presence is unsettling, as though the very air shifts when he speaks. "You come seeking answers," he mutters cryptically, his voice raspy. "But what you find may not be the truths you seek." Amara eyes him with suspicion, but Adama steps forward, undeterred. "Tell us, Baba Kofi, what do you know of the shadow?" Baba Kofi's eyes gleam with an eerie knowing. "The shadow is more than a mere omen. It is a sign of something ancient, something forgotten, awakening. The spirits stir, and the earth trembles beneath our feet." Amara frowns. "What does that mean? What is awakening?" The elder smiles faintly, his teeth yellowed with age. "That which was buried will rise again. The past is not dead. It lives, and it will not be denied." Adama's grip tightens on his sword. There's no comfort in Baba Kofi's words, only more questions, more fear. "Is there anything we can do to stop it?" he demands. Baba Kofi chuckles softly, his voice like the wind through dead leaves. "You are already too late." The path becomes uneasy as they move deeper into the forest. Strange signs begin to appear, footprints too large for any normal villager, scattered talismans broken as if torn from their rightful places. Adama pauses, kneeling to inspect one of the pieces. "Someone has been here before us," he says, his voice a whisper of disbelief. "But why?" Amara's eyes scan the surrounding trees, her sense of caution growing. "This doesn't feel right. Whoever came this way, they weren't meant to." She steps forward, placing a hand on Adama's shoulder. "We should turn back. The village, the elders. They might be hiding something from us." Adama stands, shaking, his head firmly. "No, we have to keep going. We'll learn the truth at the sacred rock." As they continue, a figure steps into view, a man they've never seen before. He is tall, his features hard and worn, as though he has walked through fire and come out scarred. He looks at them, his gaze filled with both curiosity and caution. "I know what you seek," the stranger says, his voice deep and measured. "But you're treading on dangerous ground." Amara narrows her eyes. "Who are you?" The man bows slightly, a grin creeping onto his face. The name is Nuru, and like you, I seek the sacred rock. But my reasons, they are different. Adama's hand rests instinctively on the hilt of his sword. What do you know of the shadow? He asks, his voice tight. Nuru steps closer, his eyes flickering between them. More than you might think. The shadow is not just a warning, it is a message, and I intend to understand it for my own reasons. Amara eyes him warily, sensing that there is more to this stranger than meets the eye. What's your interest? In the sacred rock? Nuru's grin fades, replaced by a look of cold calculation. I have unfinished business with the elders, and the rock. It holds the key to everything. Later, as they approach the final stretch of their journey, Amara pulls Adama aside. We need to be careful. This man, there's something off about him. I don't trust him. Adama hesitates, then shakes his head. He's just a man, Amara. The shadow is bigger than him. But what if he knows something we don't? Amara presses. What if he's been here before, meddling with forces he can't control? Adama's gaze hardens. We need to keep moving. We'll deal with Nuru when the time comes. The tension between them mounts, with Amara's skepticism growing more pronounced. She doesn't trust the elders, and now Nuru's involvement adds to her doubts. Adama, the elders, they're hiding something. All of this, the shadow, the prophecy, the sacred rock, it's all tied together, and we're not getting the whole story. Adama's brow furrows, but he refuses to yield. We have to trust them. They've led us for generations. The friction between the siblings is palpable now, as their differing views on tradition and justice collide. Amara's growing distrust of the elders and their secrets stirs something deep within her, while Adama's belief in honoring the past keeps him rooted to the path they've always followed. The stakes are rising, but their unity is fracturing. As they reach the edge of the sacred rock, the air grows heavier, charged with something unseen. A moment of silence falls between them. Adama's hand rests on his sword, ready to face whatever comes next. But in that silence, Amara's voice breaks. Through, soft but resolute. We're on the wrong path, Adama. You have to see it. He looks at her, his eyes tired but determined. The path we're on is the only one that will lead us to the truth. The path to the sacred rock may have begun together, but now the truth they seek will test their bond, pushing them further, apart as the mysteries of the shadow begin to unfold. Adama and Amara stand at the peak of the sacred rock, the air thick with anticipation. Before them lies a hidden chamber, barely visible through the cracks in the stone. As they step inside, the darkened space pulses with an eerie energy. A golden glow illuminates the heart of the chamber, a relic carved from the purest stone, sitting upon a pedestal. The heart of the ancestors. Amara's breath catches in her throat. This is it, she whispers. Adama moves forward, his eyes locked on the heart. It holds the power. It always has. But as he steps closer, the ground beneath them trembles. A shadow swirls around the heart, darkening the space. A voice, low and ancient, echoes in their minds. The curse lives. It is not over. The shadow thickens, swirling around them, coiling with the weight of an ancient power. The heart of the ancestors pulses with a malevolent force, sending waves of unease through both siblings. Amara steps back, clutching her chest. It's alive! Adama's jaw tightens. He's been ready for this moment, but now that it's here, doubt creeps in. The shadow, it is the curse. Suddenly, a figure steps from the shadows, his presence undeniable. It is Nuru, his eyes gleaming with a purpose that sends chills through their veins. The shadow is not a warning, Nuru declares, his voice dark and filled with anger. It is the embodiment of a curse, cast by my ancestor, the ancient king who betrayed the gods. Amara recoils, disbelief in her eyes. What are you saying? You're tied to this curse? Nuru steps forward, his gaze unwavering. I am his bloodline, the king who turned against the gods, and now I seek to reclaim the power that was taken from us. Adama's hand moves to his sword, his heart racing. You would unleash this curse on our people? Nuru's grin is cold. I would restore what was lost. The heart holds the key to the power that should never have been stolen. It is mine by birthright. Before Adama and Amara can respond, a new voice cuts through the tension, deep and firm. It is the voice of the village chief, Olumide. He steps into the chamber, his face dark with a hidden knowledge. You have no right to speak of bloodlines. Nuru, Olumide declares, his eyes shifting to the heart. You know nothing of what you seek. Adama's heart skips. What do you mean, Olumide? The village chief's gaze hardens. I am complicit in this, child. I have known the truth. The elders and I have concealed the story for generations. We have kept the curse alive to maintain control over the village, using the heart to manipulate the people. Amara steps back, shock and betrayal evident in her expression. You, all of you? You knew the curse was a lie, and you let us live in fear all this time? Olumide does not flinch. The village needed to believe. The power of the heart gave us control over the land, the people, but now the truth is exposed. And what will you do with it, Adama? Adama's chest tightens as the weight of the revelation settles in. He steps forward, his voice cold and steady. You used the fear of a false curse to rule us, all of you, complicit, in betrayal. But now, you've awakened something that may tear this village apart. Nuru's eyes gleam with a dangerous resolve. It's too late. The power of my ancestor is within reach. I will claim it. Amara shakes her head, her voice filled with pain. You'll destroy everything to reclaim a power that has already torn us apart. What is the cost of this revenge, Nuru? Nuru's eyes harden. The cost is nothing compared to what was taken from my bloodline. I will do what must be done. The tension between them all reaches a boiling point. Adama feels his heart heavy with the burden of their past, their betrayals, and the past that lies ahead. The heart pulses with energy, its glow blinding. He looks at Amara, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and resolve. You have a choice, Adama, she says quietly. Destroy the heart, end this curse for good, or let it continue. Adama's hand hovers over the heart, torn between two worlds. If I destroy it, the spiritual ties we have with the ancestors, they will break. The village will never be the same. Amara's voice is firm. But if you let it live, the curse will continue to hold us, and Nuru will tear the village apart. Adama looks back at Nuru, his decision weighing heavily on his soul. He steps forward, raising his hand to the heart. We will make a new future, a future free from the lies of the past. The moment he touches the heart, a blast of light fills the chamber, shaking the very foundation of the sacred rock. Nuru screams in fury, his hands reaching toward the relic, but it's too late. The power of the heart is unleashed, sending shockwaves through the land. As the light fades, Adama and Amara stand, their bodies trembling. The heart lies shattered, the power that once bound their people now gone. The curse is broken. In the silence that follows, Adama turns to the elders, his voice quiet but filled with authority. Your time is over. The truth is out. We will rebuild, but not with your lies. Olumide's face is hard, but there is a flicker of regret in his eyes. What is done is done. We have all paid for the sins of the past. Nuru, now defeated, steps back into the shadows, his vendetta ended. The past has claimed its price. He mutters and vanishes into the darkness. As the village awakens to the truth, the winds begin to shift. Adama and Amara stand side by side, their bond unbroken despite the betrayals and darkness that sought to tear them apart. The heart of the ancestors is gone, but with it, a new path is forged, a path of healing, truth, and freedom. The sun rises over the village, casting long shadows across the land. The heart of the ancestors is gone, and with it, the curse that once gripped the people. But as the villagers gather to witness the truth unveiled, a heavy silence hangs in the air. The elders, once revered, stand broken and exposed. Olumide, the chief, his face weary and lined with guilt, stares at the ground. "All these years," a voice calls out from the crowd. "We've been lied to," another voice follows. The heart of the ancestors was nothing but a tool of control, a chain around our necks. We trusted them. Olumide lifts his head, but his authority is gone. His people no longer see him as a leader. His eyes meet Adama's, once full of respect, now full of shame. "I did what I thought was necessary to keep the village strong." Adama's voice rings out clear and unforgiving. "You kept us enslaved to your lies. You used the curse to rule us, to manipulate our faith. You were never a leader. You were a puppet of fear." The villagers stir, some nodding, others still too shaken to speak. The weight of the truth is too much to bear, and the old ways crumble in the face of it. A great division takes root in the village. The old loyalists, those who once bowed to the heart and revered the elders, stand firm in their beliefs. "The heart was the key to our strength," one of them argues. "Without it, we have nothing. We cannot abandon our ways. The spirits of our ancestors must guide us." But Adama steps forward, his voice strong and steady. "The spirits of our ancestors never intended for us to be bound by fear. We will rebuild, but we will not be shackled by old lies. It is time to honor the truth, not the chains that kept us from it." The divide grows. Some follow Adama, ready to embrace change. Others, led by the old loyalists, call for the restoration of the past. But the battle is not just about old customs. It is about power, control, and the future of the village. And the cost of this fight is more than anyone expected. Adama walks alone, his footsteps heavy. He has been hailed as a hero, but in his heart there is no victory. The weight of his choices presses on him. He led the charge to break the curse, but now he faces a world he doesn't fully understand. His actions have shattered the village, and though the chains are gone, he wonders if freedom is enough to heal the wounds left behind. "Where do I belong now?" he asks himself quietly. The village no longer needs a hero. They need a leader, but is he ready to lead? Is he even the right one? Amara stands at the edge of the village, gazing out into the distance. She feels the relief of the curse being broken, the weight of ancestral manipulation lifted from her shoulders. Yet, the price of this freedom haunts her. The elders are gone, their truths exposed, but the scars they've left behind cannot be erased so easily. "We fought for a better future," she whispers. "But did we lose something in the process?" Her mind replays the moments of betrayal, the choices that brought them here. They won, but at what cost? The villagers are divided, unsure whether to embrace the new path or return to the safety of the past. And she feels the burden of it all. The burden of knowing they may have saved the village, but at the expense of its unity. The village stands at a crossroads. The path ahead is uncertain. The past, with its lies and manipulation, still casts a shadow over their future. Some argue for a return to the old ways, for the restoration of their traditions and customs. But Adama and Amara know that these traditions were built on deception. The heart of the ancestors, the curse, it was all a tool to control, not to guide. The villagers look to Adama and Amara for direction, but the siblings feel the weight of their choices. The road ahead is no longer clear. The promise of freedom is both a blessing and a curse. Adama steps forward, his voice resolute. We cannot move forward by clinging to the past. We will forge a new path, one that honors our ancestors, but does not let them dictate our lives with lies. Amara nods beside him, her voice softer but no less firm. The past will always be a part of us, but we must choose our future. We must choose it together. The villagers gather once more, divided but hopeful. The leaders of the old ways stand in defiance, while the followers of Adama and Amara begin to rise, ready to build a new village, one based on truth and unity. The echoes of the past still reverberate, but the future is now in their hands. Adama and Amara share a glance, understanding the cost of their actions. They have broken the chains, but now they must decide what role they will play in shaping the world that rises from the ashes of the old one. As the villagers begin to rebuild, the burden of truth weighs heavily on Adama and Amara. The curse is broken, but in its place is the hard work of healing and reconciliation. The village is free, but they are left with the question, what will they do with their freedom? The answer, like the future itself, remains uncertain. Adama sits alone in the center of the village, his face shadowed by the weight of the decisions made. The sun is setting, casting a golden hue across the land, but he hardly notices. In the stillness of the moment, he begins to reflect on the events that have brought them to this point. Power, he mutters under his breath. It comes in many forms. We think we control it, but often it controls us. For generations, our village followed the heart of the ancestors, trusting it to guide us. But what did that trust really cost? How many sacrifices did we make in the name of tradition? His thoughts turned to the elders, the leaders who had once wielded power like a weapon. They had told the villagers that the heart was a gift from the gods, that it was sacred, that without it they would be lost. But now, with the curse broken, he wonders, was it really the heart that held them together? Or was it the fear of what would happen without it? Was the past truly a foundation, or just a shadow they had lived under? He stands pacing. The past speaks to us, but does it speak truth? Tradition is a weight. It anchors us, but it can also drown us. How do we know when to let go of the anchor and sail forward? How do we honor what came before without becoming its prisoner? The village is changing, but its future is still uncertain. Adama knows this better than anyone. Some cling to the old ways, desperate to rebuild what they had lost. Others, like him, see the need for a new path, one that doesn't repeat the mistakes of the past. Can we rebuild, or are we doomed to repeat the same cycle? He wonders aloud. The curse was broken, but the scars it left behind still run deep. The villagers, they look to me, to us, for a future. But is the future I envision truly the right one? Or am I just trying to escape the pain of the past? He thinks of the old loyalists who still fight for the return of the heart's power, of the traditions they refuse to let go. They speak of restoring balance, of bringing back the ways of their ancestors. But Adama knows that balance was built on lies. The heart was never the source of strength. It was the control, the manipulation, the fear of losing it that held them all in place. A new path, he repeats softly. We must choose it, but at what cost? Every choice brings its own weight. We can't undo the past, but we can choose how we live in the present, and that's the hardest choice of all. Adama's reflection turns to the cost of power and belief. He remembers the elders' faces, their stern eyes, the way they had spoken of tradition like it was sacred law, but it was their power, not the tradition itself, that they sought to preserve. They used the heart not to protect the village, but to control it. The power they claimed to serve was nothing more than a way to bend others to their will. Power, Adama thinks, is dangerous. It can give you strength, but it can also blind you. It can make you think you're doing what's best, even when you're hurting those you love. I see now the cost of believing in power is the same as the cost of not questioning it, he remembers. The faces of those who had suffered under the curse, those who had given up their freedom, their voices, all in the name of obedience. In the end, it wasn't the curse that bound them. It was their belief in it, their belief in the leaders who claimed to know better. The fine line between tradition and control, he whispers, his voice heavy. We've all walked it, but we can't keep walking it forever. To move forward, we have to leave the chains behind. As the village moves toward its uncertain future, Adama realizes something deeper. It's not just the village that must change. It's the way they view the truths they inherit. The elders were not wrong because they wanted to protect the village, but because they didn't question the truth they were passing down. The truth of the heart, the truth of the curse, these were all inherited beliefs that shaped their actions, their choices, and their future. But who decides what truth to inherit? Who decides when a truth has outlived its purpose? The truth we inherit, Adama thinks, shapes us. It shapes everything. But what happens when the truth is a lie? What happens when the truth we inherit is no longer enough? The villagers must confront this now. They must decide what truths to pass on, what to hold on to, and what to let go. The future cannot be shaped by the mistakes of the past. Adama looks out at the village, his heart heavy, but resolute. The curse is gone, but the weight of freedom is not light. He knows that the village is free now, but that freedom is not a gift. It is a burden. It comes with choices, with responsibility. Freedom, he murmurs, is not without its cost. We've broken the chains, but now we must decide what to do with the space they once occupied. We are free, but free to do what? He feels the weight of the village's future on his shoulders. The villagers look to him, not as a hero, but as a guide, and that is the hardest role of all. To lead a people who are still learning what it means to be free. Freedom comes with choices, he thinks, but it also comes with the knowledge that no choice is ever truly easy. The past may be gone, but the future is a question we must answer, day by day. And as the sun sets over the village, Adama knows the truth. The journey isn't over. It has only just begun. The village is free, but what they do with that freedom will shape the generations to come. The truth they inherit, the path they choose, will define them. The burden of freedom rests with each of them, and in the end, it is their choices that will determine whether the village is truly free or whether it will simply repeat the past in a new form.